Hi, this is Shankar from Ekascloud. In this video, I will explain about AWS service called Route53. So what is Route53? So it's a fully managed DNS service within AWS Cloud. So for that, we have to see what is DNS service. So DNS is nothing but domain name service, domain name system. So what exactly is domain name system means? For example, let us say we are having a EC2 instance and we have configured web server in that EC2 instance and we are connecting over the internet with the help of public IP. So for example, let's say I have configured a EC2 instance with the public IP and I have given you the public IP. Now you can see my website which I have hosted in this EC2, which I have used this as a web server. You can uh, access that with the help of the public IP I have created over the internet. Anybody in the internet can access the web server with the help of this public IP. But in real life, we don't have, we will not use IP address for accessing Facebook or Google or Twitter or anything. So we will have names for that. So those names will be in this DNS service. So for example, let's say we have google.com, which will have a public IP. They will have a public IP which will map to the google.com. So DNS is nothing but it's like a phone book for the internet. So for each IP, for facebook.com, they will have a public IP so that whoever are accessing google.com from the internet, it will map to the IP address, then it will send the response to the user. So this is how the domain name service works. So in Route 53, there are two types. There are two types of hosted zone. One is public hosted zone, which is used by companies like google.com or facebook.com. So which resolves over the internet. So we are able to access google.com or facebook.com. The public over the internet who can access this DNS service is called public hosted zone, whereas there is something called private hosted zone. So within the VPC, for example, let's say we have two server 1 and server 2, and we have hosted both of them in the private hosted zone. So what we can do is we can access server 2 from server 1 and we can access server 1 from server 2. Both we can do with the help of this private hosted zone. We cannot send this link, or we cannot send this domain name service to the public and they can access the internet. They cannot access the internet when we talk about private hosted zone. It can be accessed only within the VPC. So within the VPC, for example, let's say I have hosted these two servers, two EC2 instance, server 1 and server 2. So the server 1 can access server 2 and the server 2 can access this server 1 web server. So these are the two types of hosted zone in Route 53. Then as I said before, this is the user or client and the request will go with the name. For example, let's say example.com. We are requesting a request to the internet called example.com. So as I said, DNS is like a phone book for the internet. So the example.com will check for the IP address. It will check which IP is mapped with example.com, and this example.com will have a public IP, and this public IP is returned to the user. So as I said, every EC2 instance have a public IP. If we have hosted in the public subnet, it will have a public IP, and let's say we have hosted a web server called example.com, and if we want to access the example.com, the request will go to the DNS. The DNS will have the mapped IP for this example.com web server, and it will reply with the IP address. So we will request a name like example.com with the name, but it will reply with the public IP address. Then it will communicate to the web server. The IP address will go to the web server. Then it will give the website we want from the server. From the web server, it will provide us with the website we want, and we can see the website example.com in our computer, or the user who is requesting can see the web server after all this process. So this is the main concept of DNS, and this AWS Route 53 will provide this service. It will fully manage. So within AWS Cloud, so when you are hosting any EC2 instance within AWS Cloud, we can use this Route 53 service for the domain name system service, which is fully managed. So this is all about Route 53. Thank you.